It's working. All right, perfect. All right, everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Spiritual Asshole. I'm so excited to be joined by John Purkiss. He's an executive coach, podcast host, and author of The Power of Letting Go. John, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. So, your story is incredible. You studied economics at Cambridge, and now you talk so much about mindfulness. What's it like being the only person in economics with a soul?
That's a great question. Yeah, sometimes I meet so many people who operate from the mind, and when you start talking about operating from consciousness, it's like sometimes feel as though you're on separate planets. Yeah, can happen.
So yeah, has it been hard actually once you've discovered all this amazing information to then go back to the corporate world and just be like, all right, so anyways, let's talk about these numbers.
Yeah, it is fun because I do both, and so I turn up to meetings looking like this and wearing a jacket, and then. But what's interesting is frequently there's this really difficult business problem, and the answer is a spiritual one, and not everybody's open to that, right?
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's so fascinating. I'm kind of experiencing this now with myself. So you also speak French, German, and Spanish. Are you able to let go so easily because you don't understand any of the languages you speak?
Actually, when I go, I quite like traveling in countries where I don't speak the language because it shuts out all the noise, like Albania, right?
Totally. I couldn't agree more. That's part. I was just in Norway and I'm like, I love this is causing me to think less. It's amazing.
Yep.
So what is your internal monologue in your brain like now these days? Are you able to let go easier, have you found after all this practice?
Uh, yeah, it's getting much quieter. I mean, mindfulness was like the beginning. There are other practices, and one way of measuring it is how many thoughts you have per second or per minute, and it does die down. Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody talks about letting go. Everybody, this is, as you've noted, this is such an age-old tradition in every wisdom tradition. But I still don't completely think anyone has ever given a great how. So can you just give us like a very basic how to do this?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, definitely. So there are three steps, which I talk about in the book, which came out 4 years ago nearly. So um, the first step is to be present. So being present. So every time that your mind wanders, you bring it back to the present. That's already very helpful because
Yeah.
otherwise you're chasing one thought after another, which is what most people do, right? And there are various ways of being present. One is mindfulness. Another one is a technique I learned from my guru, which is unclutching. And unclutching basically is when a thought arises, you choose not to engage with it. Most people are
Mm.
unconsciously engaging with every single thought that comes, right? So
Yes.
that's the first one is not engaging with the thoughts that come up, right? And then the second one is to deal with the thoughts at source. So um, everybody who's not enlightened practically has pain stored in their body, and it's trauma, and it's generating endless thoughts. So there is a technique to go and remove that trauma, and then you just don't have this kind of thought factory running in your body. And
Is
the
that the
third,
relive? Is that the relive technique that you talk about?
yeah, that's relive. So basically, you go. This is by the way, this is the opposite of what quite a lot of therapists tell you to do. But basically, you go back, you find the original incident, you relive it intensely. So, for example, my first day at school, if I relive that intensely, I remove the trauma which is stored in my body, and that just takes away the source of so many thoughts, right?
Do you do that by just sitting there and being like, first day of school, God, I was a loser. Look at
We
that
can do,
loser.
we
Such
can
an
do it with
idiot.
you. We can do it with you now, right? So what's your most painful memory that you're prepared to talk about?
Oh man. You gotta give me like 7 minutes before. Okay, okay, most painful memory. I would say definitely getting probably, yeah, let's say a bully incident where these two guys kicked my head into a locker when I was in high school, when I was a freshman.
Okay, so how old were you?
I was 14.
Okay, and how did you feel?
Oh, it felt great. No, it felt horrifying. It felt like shocking. I would say shocking is the term.
Okay, all right. So what you do then is become 14. Just close your eyes, become 14,
Hmm.
with all the thought processes and feelings you had as a 14-year-old. And you don't have to do this right now, but all you do is you just close your eyes and you intensely relive that experience over and over again without any judgment. Another way you can do it is to look at yourself in the mirror and talk to the person in the mirror. Like, I'm 14 years old. These people show up. This is what happens. And what happens is you just allow any emotions to come out. I mean, some people burst into tears, some burst out laughing, whatever. You just allow the emotions to come out. And the reason you're doing that is you suppressed them when you were 14. That's why it's still live in your body, right? So
yeah,
everybody has trauma and it's stored in your body.
right. It was traumatic for me just now because I just kept thinking about how much of a virgin I was.
Literally.
Literally, I was a big time virgin. All right. So my question for that is, because I love trauma work. Yeah. Sorry, what?
No, so that's the second step. Do you want to talk about that a bit more?
Yeah, just real quick. I love trauma work. I think it's so important. But also, I have a question for you. At some point, did you stop doing this? Because I feel like it could also be endless. Like, now I'm almost so far the other way where I'm like, well, if something's going wrong, it has to be because of my childhood. And then I go back and look for things. It's like, this is an endless search.
No, you don't have to keep lying on the couch. I mean, I still do it when I need to. So I've done a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
I got all the way back. I got all the way back to the age of 1.
Wow. How?
This is really interesting. I know. I'll tell you what happened was, so my guru Swamiji behind me, he said you go back to before you had any vocabulary, right? So you weren't even able to express what happened. And what I realized was when I was 7, my youngest brother used to cry, and my father said, well, we just let them cry because it makes them stronger. And I suddenly had this flashback to being around 1 year old, and I used to cry and nobody came, right? So it's this total powerlessness. So I got back to there and I was reliving being 1, and the cognition was, I'm not getting what I want. I want mummy to come. She's not coming. I'm not getting what I want. And then once I'd relived that intensely, suddenly everything changed. I suddenly realized actually life has been supporting me my entire life, right? I do get what I want. So that whole cognition changed. And these days, I only do that. It's called completion. I only use the completion technique when I have a problem. So something's not working. I just know there's something I need to complete. I need to relive it. So to answer the question, I don't spend the whole day lying on the couch reliving now.
Okay, that's great. That makes a lot of sense. And then, if you want to finish your thought on the letting go, part 3.
So the third step. So we talked about, dealing with the thoughts as they arise. That's step 1. Step 2 is dealing with the source of the thoughts, right? Which is completion, reliving. And the third one is the one that a lot of people find scary, which is surrender, which is letting go totally.
Yes.
That's when the magic really happens.
So what is a good visual that we can give people to what surrender actually looks like?
Swamiji, full name Sri Nityananda Paramashivam, wrote a great book called Living Enlightenment. He's got this great metaphor, right, which I love. He says, basically, imagine you're a bamboo flute and the divine or supreme consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, is blowing air through this flute, and out comes beautiful music, right? Whether you're a business person or a comedian, it's a download, basically, right?
Yeah.
But the bamboo flute gets blocked by ego.
Oh.
The ego is karma, is incompletion, is pain, all this stuff we've just been talking about. It blocks the flute, right? So once you unblock the bamboo, you start, you download, I'm sure you do, you download comedy, you download books, you download photographs, you download business ideas.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to surrender, because most people are not. They're scared, so they cling on with their ego, trying to do things the hard way, right?
What was the hardest thing that you had to surrender to? I'll go first. Mine was admitting that I love the Dave Matthews Band.
It's actually not. It's in my case, it's surrendering. You're actually, may sound pompous. You could say you're surrendering to the divine, or you're surrendering to the consciousness which is running everything. So instead of trying to do everything with your mind, which is the way you basically allow this thing to flow through your body.
That's fantastic. So here's the big question that I think everyone, especially in the Western culture, what is the difference between surrendering and letting go and giving up?
Oh, it's a massive difference. So giving up is powerlessness. It's like, and a lot of people do it like, I can't handle this. This is hopeless. I can't do anything. I'm powerless, right?
Yeah.
The powerlessness is basically ego. You've basically capitulated to all of your patterns, right?
Oh, that's great. That's
Like,
great.
this is hopeless. I can't do anything. Give up. You know, drink lots of beer, lie down. Um, letting go actually does require some work, because you have to back to the bamboo flute. You have to do the work to unblock the bamboo flute.
We
And
gotta
then
clear this flute out, man. This flute is causing problems.
exactly, no music's coming out. Yeah, and he actually says, if you don't empty out the bamboo flute, then the bamboo is only good for carrying dead bodies. And I've seen people do that in India. They carry dead bodies
Oh
around on
shit,
bamboo.
that's right.
That's not what you want.
So what happens then if you keep getting the same thoughts over and over again that you keep trying to let go and they keep coming back? What would you say to those people?
It is that is a massive opportunity. So what you do then, I've done it many times, is you sit there. I make a drink. I sit there with a blank sheet of paper. I close my eyes and I just listen to myself.
Wow,
And
while you're drinking?
yeah,
Dude,
multitasking.
you're an awesome guru. This is great.
Can alternate. So you listen to yourself, and if you listen very carefully, your mind will tell you all kinds of things. I just write them down. Like, my mind is telling me, you're an idiot, or you've been a failure, or whatever it is. You write it all down, and eventually you start seeing what these patterns are and where they came from. You find the original incident. And if you're at all religious or spiritual, you can ask. I mean, I asked my guru Swamiji, but you could basically ask, just like, please show me, where is all this stuff coming from?
Yeah.
And you're seeing it. Okay, it all comes from when I was 14 or 5 or 1 or whatever.
And you have seen this, you've been able to clear a lot with this, obviously.
I've got, so the way Swamiji describes it, he says you have a root pattern, right? And it grows into this massive tree. And as your life continues, you keep adding to the tree, right?
Yeah.
So the way I see it is, you can either spend your whole life pruning the tree, or you can go back to the root and say, okay, when did this thing start? And just uproot it.
Yes.
And once you uproot it, everything changes, right?
That's awesome. So then let's talk, to go back a little bit, let's talk about the difference between letting go and taking action.
Okay, right, good question. So most people in the West, most of us have been conditioned to believe that we're the body mind.
Yes.
So Eckhart Tolle, he talks about the body mind. Basically, most of us believe we're a body and a mind, or some people call it a meat suit, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to get what you want and avoid what you don't want. And then there are 8 billion other people doing the same. And then we all crash into each other, right? So we're taking action. We're rushing around, bumping into each other, right?
Yeah.
Because we think we're the body mind. Anybody listening to this who's done any kind of deep meditation, or maybe yoga or whatever, or stood on top of a mountain, you at some point you experience pure consciousness, right? And a lot of people assume that consciousness is passive. It's like, back to being helpless, right? But actually, what the Vedic tradition says, Vedic tradition being the source of yoga, meditation, Ayurveda, all of that, the Vedic tradition says that consciousness is the source of everything, right? So once you unblock the bamboo, basically everything just flows through it. And I find myself just running around all day, keeping up with it.
So you're like, yeah, you're a busy guy. I mean, I saw your calendar.
But like ideas for photographs, or just things keep happening, and there's no time to sit and analyze or agonize. You just
So I want to talk now about the way that sometimes all of us, myself included, try to action our way out of the fact that we don't have alignment. So we're like, okay, I'm not getting downloads, or I'm feeling kind of stuck. So what I'll do is I'll do a massive amount of action that's not even that helpful.
Yeah, lots of people do that. I did it for years.
Yeah, so like, what the hell? How can we stop doing that?
Well, in my case, I did it. I think I did it for a total of 7 years, until I was broke, alone, ill, and couldn't pay the rent. And then I realized
Wait a minute.
It was really interesting. It's like, okay, so input 10 out of 10, outputs 0 out of 10. Clearly I'm missing something, important. Like, have you considered plugging the machine in, or that kind of thing,
Yeah, it's hitting the power button on. So is that when you decided, like, okay, it's time to clear the bamboo? Is that what happened?
Well, I didn't know about bamboo. I just realized, like a lot of people, I'd done everything you're supposed to do. You know, this theory, if you're intelligent and hardworking, you're going to have a good life.
Yeah.
So I pursued that theory until it stopped working. And then I realized all this action is just getting me nowhere. I'm just clearly missing something.
So what happened? Like, what was that shift? What did it look like? And what does your action now look like? How is it different?
Okay, so briefly, what happened was I was in living in Paris, and I'd been working really, really hard. And as happens every now and then, Paris went on strike. So my
Oh, yeah,
business
yeah.
shut down, right? Just the whole thing shut down. And then I had sciatica. I was slightly depressed, and my girlfriend had left me. And I just realized I've done everything correctly, and it's not working. And then I did three things which I've just described. I learned to be present, and I was reading a novel. I learned that from reading a novel, right? I just copied the guy in the novel. Just be present. And then I let go, in the sense of I just basically stopped taking all this action. I just stopped running around because it was pointless. And then the third thing I did was I asked to be guided. Like, so I went to church for 10 years. I didn't like all the heaven and hell thing, but I had understood there's something very intelligent which is running everything, right?
Yeah.
There's something extremely intelligent which is running the cosmos. And what was interesting, as soon as I asked to be guided, like within a few days, an advert appeared in the newspaper, and I got the job. And suddenly I was achieving all of my financial goals.
Wow.
Like, everything just went bang as soon as I let go completely. Yeah.
So that's what it was. It was like a total surrendering.
Yeah, and at the time, I didn't know how to replicate it. Like, it had happened once. I didn't know how to keep doing that. And much more recently, I've figured out, I reckon, well, it's happening more and more and more. It happens repeatedly, so it looks as though I may have found how it works. Right.
So what did you find? You have to share it now. Everyone's on the edge of their seats.
Of course. So and this is completely alien to most Western educated people. So the way it works, this is just my experience, is a lot of people, they learn meditation or yoga or something, but they're still doing it from a Western point of view. They're still a body mind, doing a bit of yoga, doing a bit of meditation.
Yeah.
And then there are these people come along. In the Christian tradition, it's pretty likely that Jesus is one of these people, like an avatar or an incarnation. So someone who comes down.
Yeah.
To help humanity. I don't know if you've ever seen one of my favorite cartoons. I don't know if you've seen it. There's a cartoon, and there's Jesus and there's Krishna, and they're sitting on a cloud.
No.
And they say, okay, whose turn is it to go down and tell them all over again? So Jesus probably was one of those, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Krishna was one. Buddha was one. I believe that Swamiji Nityananda is one. There may be others alive today. I don't know who they are, but
Kim Kardashian,
possibly. So basically,
or the opposite.
So the argument is, every now and then, this pure consciousness takes a human form and appears on planet Earth. Generally, human beings then try to kill them. In Jesus' case, successfully. But basically, what they're showing us is how to channel the divine all the time, right? And that's where the surrender comes in. So in my case, what I do is I say, so we call him Swamiji, but he's basically saying that he is supreme consciousness in a human form, right? One of the clues, by the way, is healing. Like, Jesus healed vast numbers of people. And the first time the penny dropped with me was 8 years ago. I was sitting in India watching Swamiji heal vast numbers of people. And you suddenly go, oh God, it's the New Testament again.
You're like, don't kill him. Do not kill him. You immediately go in protection mode.
Well, the reason he left India is so many people tried to kill him. I mean, he left India because someone attacked him with an axe, and then eventually he left.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So anyway, all I do these days is I just say, Paramashiva, supreme consciousness, please manifest through this body, right? I'm taking John Purkiss, or my spiritual name, Banahas. I'm just taking that out of the way. Like, just please manifest through this body. And then everything happens.
That's like, so good.
I'm a piece of bamboo, right? Just manifest, right? Please.
Do you think that we're so resistant to this because it goes so hard against our values of like hard work equals money or success? Because it's so easy, but that all of us are like, well, the easy way can't be the correct way.
Yeah, because part of ego is, like, if it's not painful and stressful, then it can't be worthwhile, right?
Yeah. That's so
I
funny.
mean, one of my favorite examples, by the way, is academia, right? So I was talking to a friend a couple of days ago. So Cambridge has been going for 800 years, right?
Oh my God. I didn't know that. Okay.
Cambridge University, 800 years. And I was saying to her, surely Cambridge is like a temple to the mind, right? Everyone's into the mind. And we were arguing, are there two, maybe three people who've actually downloaded as opposed to doing it the hard way? Like one's Isaac Newton and the other one is a guy called Ramanujan, right? And and in 800 years, we could think of two, maybe three people who downloaded like the bamboo, right? The rest are all kind of spending decades thinking, you know.
Yeah. Just staying up 18 hours a night. That's hilarious. So let's use like a practical example here. So let's say that somebody, for example, me, needs a job. Okay. But my action mind is like apply for all these jobs, but when I do it, it feels bad. What's the surrendered way to get a job?
Yeah, that's a great example. So yeah, so the action way is if I bang on 1,000 doors, 500 will open the door, blah, blah, blah. It's a
Yeah, yeah.
numbers game.
Yes, that's they all say. It's a numbers game.
Yeah, yeah. My body quivers when I hear that phrase, right? So the surrender way would be to sit down and be completely clear what you want to manifest. Like write it down. Okay, I want this particular job, and actually, you may not even want a job. It may be what you really want is a certain amount of money or whatever.
That's correct. That's also correct.
Yeah, you want what you really want is money or travel or whatever. You
Yeah.
want. Meet Kim Kardashian, whatever, right? So you write that down at the top of the page, right? And then you just sit there and you listen, and your mind will tell you all the reasons why it can't happen. Quite promptly, you write down all the reasons why it can't happen, and then you look at it and you say, okay, this is why it can't happen. What's the cognition or the belief behind that? So let's take an example. You probably don't want a job, but what would you like to manifest?
Yeah, I would like to. I actually would love a job that I love. I'm in the arts, so I'd love a fun comedy writing job, a fun acting job. I'm also a voiceover actor. I actually do want those jobs that feel aligned, not like any job that sucks.
Okay. And why can't that happen?
I think for me, I've had a lot of. It has happened in the past. There's just been a lot of rejection too. So dealing with those doubts, yeah.
Okay, so what does your mind say about why you can't have that perfect job?
It's too hard, or it's you've gotten so many no's.
Okay, so let's start with it's too hard. So
Okay.
that's a cognition or a belief.
Yes.
Right? So Swamiji says, by the way, this is where a big departure from things like The Secret or the Law of Attraction or whatever. So what he says is you don't manifest your desires, you manifest your beliefs.
Yeah, I believe that.
So you have a belief which says it's too hard.
Yeah.
Right. So and what happens is once you do the completion process, which we just talked about, the relive to relieve, what happens then is your beliefs then align with your desires and then they manifest. That's what's happening, right? So what's your earliest memory of feeling that it's too hard?
This is a good question. I also thank you for the private coaching session. This is very
How
good.
many million people?
I love this. Thank you so much. I will take it. Earliest memory of it being too hard would be probably 5 years old. Critical parents.
Yes.
Critical sister. I don't know. I have a specific exact example though. I need one.
Does any particular incident come to mind, or somebody said something? Or
Oh, okay. This is a good question. Yeah, just being rejected. Probably being criticized. My dad was my sports coach, so probably being criticized in sports. I know that's silly, but that's probably true.
Okay. So can you think of a particular thing he said to you?
I think it's actually probably more my sister just telling me to stop being myself. That's probably it.
Okay. All right. So there's lots of material there, right? So
Oh yeah.
So what it boils down to is finding a specific incident. And the key to this is that something happened, but you came to a conclusion, right? You came to a conclusion about yourself, and the world, and that's the root pattern. So the root pattern is, I'll just take my example, is I'm unacceptable, I'm a failure, and life doesn't give me what I want, right? So yours will be different, but it boils down to how you see yourself and how you see the world. And these are conclusions that you came to at a very early age, right?
Yeah.
So when you relive those particular episodes intensely, what happens is it removes those cognitions, and then suddenly you start manifesting what you want.
So do you think the earlier you get at this, the better? Like, do you know what I mean? Like early childhood, it's more of the root than, let's say, when you're 14 or 15.
Yeah, it's somewhere between 2 and 7.
Okay, cool.
Or if you get to the pre-vocabulary one, like I'm crying and mummy doesn't come, you're back to like 1.
Sweet.
But so I mean, people like Freud, lots of psychologists and psychiatrists have said this. The only challenge is, I mean, I did Freudian psychoanalysis for a year and a half, is there was no technique. It's like, okay, we know what the problem is, but how do we get rid of it?
Yeah, that's why talk therapy to me sometimes is limiting. I'm like, great, let's change it. I don't care anymore. I don't care that my sister was mean to me or my parents. It's not their fault. Like, I just want to heal from it. I don't care.
Yeah, let's get rid of it. Yeah.
So I guess all of this has led up to the very important question I have to ask you next. Why is the mind such an asshole?
I suppose it's the human condition. I mean, the way Hinduism explains it is we come to the world, we come to planet Earth with all this karma that we need to get rid of, right? And that's why we're here. We need to get rid of the asshole.
Yeah, the major question I had for you is, it seems like human beings are in these two competing states. I don't want to say competing because that sounds kind of negative, but it's like survival mode, which you talk about, which is like ego, I'm my thoughts, and then also we're this soul that's bigger than everything and is timeless. So like these two things seem to almost be crashing into each other.
Yes.
So how do we negotiate? I don't know. Actually, yeah.
What I would say is this: the soul is there all the time and is timeless, right? It's just there, but it's obscured by these pain patterns or incompletions. So the work is just removing those.
Okay.
For example, Swamiji has a school. Hopefully, I'll have several schools, and basically on day 1 at the age of 8, they tell all the children, "You are Paramashiva, you are God," right?
Yeah.
And when I first met him, he said, "I'm not here to convince you that I am God. I'm here to convince you that you are God."
Yes.
Like, what?
Hell yes. That's so good, though. That's how you know he's a good guru.
And then you just need to remove all this garbage, right?
Yeah, but you said this great thing in one of the podcasts about how we're so stuck in survival protection mode. And when we're doing that, it's at our detriment, right?
Yeah, and that is, again, it's out of pain or incompletion or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's just there. And some of it is kind of primeval. You know, I don't know if I'm sure you've experienced this. Like, your brain is constantly scanning to see what's wrong.
Yeah.
And in the most marvelous situation, you're looking for the problem. Right?
It's so funny. Do you feel like you still do that?
It happens a bit. Yeah, I catch myself, and it's like marvelous things are happening, and my brain is trying to identify what's wrong here.
And yeah, we should say that sometimes being in protection mode is actually helpful. Like, let's say you're in a Black Friday Walmart stampede. That's a good time to be in protection mode.
Yeah, or at least be conscious, right? You know, there are 1,000 people all trying to get the 20% discount. Right?
They're just running me over. Okay, so that's cool. I guess we talked a lot about. Okay, so you talk a lot about looking at yourself in the mirror. You said you started doing this in the morning, right? That was one of the techniques that you do.
Yeah, morning is a great time, or last thing at night. I mean, any time is good, but I find, if there's anyone listening to this, I had clinical depression when I was in my mid-20s. I just found I felt worst in the mornings. Like, and generally, a lot of people find when they get up, that's when all the garbage has floated to the surface. Right?
Yes. That happened to me this morning. I was like, oh, there it is, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. Or other people, it's the end of the day. You know, they've had arguments with several people and then they're all stressed. So end of the day is also a good time, right?
Have you ever what's your thoughts on affirmations?
I think, well, I did do a lot of affirmations before I learned to let go. I just found that the problem is that the mind just says bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, and it's your pain patterns again saying, well, that's not true, is it?
Oh my God. Why is it so mean? Just let me be nice to myself. Yeah, one of the questions I have for you is why is self-love so hard but masturbating so easy?
Yeah, glad you didn't send me a series of questions to prepare. Um, I don't know. Should we make another podcast about that?
I just feel like it's crazy that self-love has to be this radical act. Do you know what I'm saying? It's very interesting to me that that can be so hard. Like I've started saying I love you to myself in the mirror and I feel very stupid doing it a lot.
Well, I think, yeah, as an affirmation, it's difficult. I tell one experience I've had is the more I do completion, the more I relive and remove all the pain. What I just find is that it's almost, this may sound weird, is you basically start radiating love.
Mm. No,
Like
it's great.
because you don't have all this pain about what's happening, and you naturally radiate love, and then other people love me or they love you, right? It's because you've got rid of all the filters.
It's
That's
like
what I
wall. I've been saying this about walls and why vulnerability is good is because it takes down your walls. Like we're all just have these walls, and once they go, we are just love. So like once the walls
yeah,
go, it's just
exactly.
naturally, yeah.
That's what I mean. One thing that Swamiji says, he says, um, love is permanent. It doesn't change. It's permanent, right? All the other emotions come and go, and love is just permanent and it's unchanging, right?
Mm. So what's a typical day to day look like for you now? Like how much are you doing spiritual stuff? How much are you doing human stuff?
But it's all together. What tends to happen is I wake up and sometimes I have thoughts about how the day is going to go, and it generally doesn't work out that way. because things start happening. I mean, when I wake up, ideally I wake up and I do, actually what I normally do is I wake up and I do transcendental meditation, which I've been doing 20 years.
Mm.
And it may sound weird, but actually I learned that from reading an interview with Seinfeld. He just said that
Oh yeah.
he used to do transcendental meditation as soon as he woke up, and I found that is a great time to do it. And then I like to do some yoga, and then just things start happening.
Part of TM though is doing it twice a day. Do you do it twice a day?
Oh, normally at least twice, yeah. I
Oh
mean, I
wow.
like
So
as soon as
okay.
I wake up, and then ideally I do it late afternoon. You know, that kind of time when you get a bit fatigued.
Oh God, yeah. Like
And then,
five.
yeah, it is a great time. I mean, a lot of people say, people who still work in offices, if you remember offices, a lot of people get back from the office and then they're fresh with their family or whatever, because they basically wipe the slate clean when they get back from the office. That's another good way to do it.
Okay, cool. Any other techniques that you think are really helpful for people? These are all great.
Um, well, for me, the really big ones is doing simple yoga, doing transcendental meditation, doing completion. Yeah, and then asking supreme consciousness to manifest through my body.
Just casually ask it to step in. Come
I
on.
do, because the reason I keep asking is otherwise my mind takes over again, and I don't want that.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I guess as a follow-up for me, it's like if you're asking and you're not seeing it, that's okay. Just keep going.
Yeah, just the way what I found, and this has been going on for since I was in Paris 25 years ago, is if there's a problem, the answer is always on the inside.
Yes.
Like go around trying to fix other people, just like look
Totally.
inwards and say, okay, what's happening inside, and there'll be
Mhm.
something inside.
I couldn't agree more. No, it's all about you. It's all about you and your eternal world. All right. Well, this has been awesome. I like to close by playing a game. It's called Spiritual or Asshole, where I say some things and you tell me if it's spiritual or asshole. Are you down?
Sorry.
Are you ready?
Oh yes, okay.
Okay, here we go. Spiritual or asshole? A new casual Friday, where instead of wearing jeans to work, you sit, let go of all of your thoughts, and have sex with your coworkers.
Asshole.
Spiritual or asshole? The idea that you have to get up super early in the morning to be productive. This is very popular now.
Asshole.
Yeah, I saw a video where a guy was like, "I'm sorry, I get up at 4:30." I'm like, "Bro, calm down." All right, spiritual or asshole? Closing your eyes in a Zoom meeting and saying, "I'm sorry, I'm letting go of the fact that I hate this."
Asshole.
Spiritual or asshole? Wearing sweatpants all the time and saying, "I'm not letting go, I'm giving up."
Asshole.
You're just an asshole all around. Okay, spiritual or asshole? Thinking you're doing meditation wrong.
Spiritual.
Ooh, okay. Spiritual or also giving a talk to a group of giving a talk to a group of economists by saying, "You know, money ain't shit, right?"
Spiritual.
Okay, last question I ask everybody. That was great. If you could tell people one thing to tell themselves all day long, what would it be?
Am I supposed to give one of those two answers?
No, 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 no. Like this is a real question, not spiritual or asshole. No, if you
One
could tell, yeah, one people like this would be like a mantra or something all day long. What would it be?
What? Sorry, could you say?
Oh yeah, no. If you could tell people one thing to tell themselves all day long, what would it be?
Um, I am supreme consciousness.
Mm, that's great. No one said that one. Good job. All right, this is awesome. Well, you can tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, well, my web page is johnpurkiss.com, johnpurkiss.com. And I'm on social media everywhere. So.
Yeah, and also I want to say I want to get your journal, but it's only in the UK right now. You got to fix that, man.
No, it's on Amazon in the US.
I couldn't find it.
Oh, okay. So Power of Letting Go is on Amazon, and Learn to Let Go a guided journal is on Amazon. I mean, most of the sales are in the US.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like I want to do because I want to do this journal. That's new, right? That's awesome.
It came out in April, May. Yeah.
Yeah, so check that out, everybody. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed it.